to the side!
Hey guys, this is Gohan6425 on YouTube, the one and only. And right now, you are watching the one and only great WGS-TV.
In conjunction with Hardcore Wrestling Radio and WGS-TV, along with ZFX, I'm Double B Billy Boudreaux, along with the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, the Illuminous One, the Shining Star, Rick Starr. Rick, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there, Billy. Thanks for having me.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have a very special guest to talk with you on, with us here on this very special interview. Former ECW star, and simply known as the sexiest man on Earth. Man known as Jason, aka Jason Knight from World Wrestling Organization. Wow, a very interesting input on there. But let's shift gears a little bit. Let's shift over to the TNA product. What are your thoughts about the TNA product, in particular when Dixie Carter brought in her version of ECW in a sense and called it EV 2.0?
I have no clue. I don't even know, honestly, I'm not trying to be, smart ass, but, I really don't know what you're talking about because I stopped watching professional wrestling on television years ago. Now, now, for the past few weeks or a couple of months, I don't even have cable anymore, because it's all crap. It's horrible. You're paying for nothing for repeats, and professional wrestling these days on TV is absolutely the last thing that I'm interested in watching. Now, when I had cable TV, and some Thursdays and Thursdays or Fridays or whatever, and then Mondays and some other days where I would tune in. And it was so horrible that I felt like vomiting, crying, sweating, and hanging myself. And after I hang myself, shooting myself in the head 3 times. Not once, but 3 times out of how bad it is. The last match that I saw for TNA was Sting versus Bubba Ray. And that was a great match because it told the story and it wasn't too long and it was a clean finish in the middle of the ring, made sense. And what I did was I said, oh, this is great. I saw a good match finally on modern TV day wrestling, right? And then I just I turned the channel so I wouldn't be disappointed with a lot of other stuff. What do I think? I think that the last thing before that I was trying to watch was some kind of an angle that it was almost like a stolen angle from ECW with the Sandman and his ex-wife being strung out because of Raymond, drugs, and this and that. And they were trying to do that with AJ Styles, I think, right? And someone else.
Yeah.
There was a girl, and it was absolutely horrible, And once again, I think they're all wonderful, tremendous athletes. It's just that, some of them should really not be given a chance to cut promos, especially long ones, especially the ones that lead into storylines, because a lot of people are not really that talented, that they can get behind the mic. A lot of people can, get into the ring and they will give you the world. Once they get behind a mic, forget about it. And I don't want to name names, but there are, I would say most of the talent in TNA, from what I see when I tune in and when I give it a chance and then I see a promo, it is really, really not that good. I don't think that really good coaches to teach them how to get in touch, how to be one with yourself. Anyone could go in there and work hard and, work stiff and do all these moves and everything. But, how many Jake Roberts do you see out there in the world these days? Not too many. Not many. Or even Bob Backlund, say, oh, he's not boring. That guy would look into that, he would look straight into that camera and tell you exactly that he will lose his last drop of blood Mysterious Arian, you understand, or Ivan Koloff or whoever, and but he'll walk away with pride, and you believe that, you believe it. Greg Valentine, I mean, when he would cut a promo, I have no competition here, I was like, oh my God, this dude really wants to kick some ass. I mean, back in the day, these guys were Arn Anderson, right? Joe LeDuc with the crazy eyes and the whole thing. Those guys, unfortunately, they're you know, I'm sorry, but these guys these days, um, meaning talent guys and the girls, they're tremendous at what they do. They look great. They're wonderful. They're all great looking. I mean, I have no problem with that. And you know what? They deserve to be there because they work very, very hard. And they probably deserve 10 times more than what they're getting. However, I think that they do not have the right coaches to teach them how to go about and put yourself over without having a 20 fucking minute match. You understand?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, I mean, how to get out there, make your point, do your thing in the ring, and then, the rest is all like people saying, oh my gosh, they're in awe, it's, like I said, I'm not impressed with pretty much any of the products, and that's why I don't watch them. And what I'll do is back when I had the cable TV, I'll say, okay, it's Monday, so USA Channel, boom, and I see something good. I see, okay, Chris Jericho, love him, so I'm going to watch what he has to do, and the whole thing because, he's always entertaining, no matter what. And then it'll, these other guys will come in and they cut these promos, and then Paul Heyman will, go and pray to gods, and then this guy will come out and do the whole. It doesn't make any sense. It has absolutely nothing to do with professional wrestling, and quite frankly, it offends me.
well, Jason, I have a quick couple questions. If I could throw a few names out, I'd like to get your feedback. All right, what do you think of guys like CM Punk?
Oh, I like his wrestling very much, like his the whole thing, and the fact that he's not all one of those super jacked up guys, and I think it's a cool thing. I don't know lately, it's like I think they're taking it way over the top and everything. I think less is more, and keeping that guy, the simpler thing is better, in my opinion. But as far as professional wrestling is concerned and everything, I like him. I did from day one. When I first saw him, I didn't see him anywhere else before, except for the World Wrestling Entertainment Federation, whatever. And I thought right away he was good, and I thought that the look is okay because he's unlike all the other guys. And he could definitely he does his talking in a ring. You can tell. So much respect.
Okay. Now, I'm sure you probably haven't seen him by now. There's a new wrestler coming out that's called Fandango.
I have no clue.
Okay.
He was known as Johnny Curtis when they had the NXT brand.
I have no clue, really.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm not trying to be, one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know them names, brother. Because believe me, I go back in the day with Bobby Jagger as rest his soul, my friend. I mean, but honestly, I do not know. I mean, God Almighty. I know that there is this really big dude that started out being like a bad guy, and he was like a bodyguard, and now he's a good guy, and he dances with girls or something like that, right? And he's a good wrestler, Brutus or something.
Oh, you're talking about the Great Khali.
No. The big guy, the big dude, he was like a bodyguard in the beginning. He's got a mohawk. And he's, Brodus Clay.
Brodus Clay.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
yeah. Like, that's, to me, but you have to realize, to me, if you've not been in the business for at least 10 or 15 years, you're still a rookie to me,
Yeah.
And still, no disrespect, and that's a good thing, because, hey, we're talking about longevity. I mean, I started training to become professional wrestler back in 1977. And it wasn't until, the early 80s when I really got to, get out there and, wrestle shows that meant something and met people, like back in the day, Johnny Rods and Dom DiNucci and Patera and all those guys. I mean, so to me, anyone that really has not been in the business for the last 10 or 15 years, I may not know who they are, and that does not mean that I'm trying to, be a smartass or anything like that. I know there's a lot of great talent out there. It's just, I don't watch it because I'm very gun shy. You understand?
Yeah.
What I see a lot these days, it's there's a lot of garbage, and two things that make it into garbage: promoting, one thing, and a lot of the wrestlers that you see these days. There are a lot of people out there that do not belong in a ring, because they're absolutely an insult to this profession. At nearly 50 years old, I'm sure I can run circles, around most of those kids out there, but then, I see a few that really deserve to be there. And I hope that, those are the ones that make it, and like I said, I get my information over the internet. People say, check this guy out, check that guy out. And I will look at it, like YouTube or whatever. But as far as, you were throwing names my way, God, I went way off course with that. Go ahead. Any other names?
Actually, yeah, there is one, and this is one that's been really a big conversation piece, and that's the Undertaker. A lot of people think that the Undertaker should kind of lose his streak and drop hit that streak to like
Yeah.
maybe somebody underneath him rather than like a big name. What do you think?
I wouldn't know because, like I said, I have not followed. I guess it's supposed to be something zero and that type of thing. I'm not sure. From what I see, whatever I flip through channels, he's out there. From what I see in the photographs, and the guy looks like $1,000,000, and I think he's only about a year or two younger than I am. He looks great. He keeps himself in tremendous shape, and I can tell you one thing, that I had an extreme pleasure of wrestling him back in WCW when he was managed by Paul Heyman and he was Mean Mark. And people say, well, who's some of the best wrestlers that you've ever been in a ring with? And he would definitely be, among the top, because it was amazing the way that he moved and the way that he was able to adapt, being like about, 6'9" or 6'10" or 6'8", I don't know, but, and like I'm under 5'10", right? So he was able to adapt to that, wrestling with me, and the way that he handled me in the ring, and everything looked like $1,000,000, and and the way that he protected me, and I was asking for like really rough moves, and throw me out, hit me with a chair, this and that. Everything was done so smooth and professionally, that he wasn't a guy like a lot of other big guys out there. They lose their heads. A lot of the guys they're nice guys, but once they're there, they just lose their heads and they'll hurt you. I mean, hit you with a clothesline across the nose, and oh, sorry, brother, I didn't, you're so short and I'm so tall. Like, this guy, Mark Calloway, right? He calculates everything. The way he kicks you, punches you, the way, he is the pure talent for professional wrestling. And, if he wins 100 more WrestleManias, God bless him. Because I think that, in my opinion, anybody who works like that and who has that type of a work ethic, like that man does, and looks the part, doesn't age, is not stumbling to the ring fat or drunk or skinny or strung out, why not? He's still making money for the company, and I think he should do great for himself. And God bless him, and I hope, like I said, I hope he has a long, healthy career.
Fair enough. I've never really heard it looked at it that way, and that's a very fair point. One other person that
Well,
go ahead.
people are looking at it, from another, I see it from the way that, like I've, especially guys that I've been in a ring with, and then from what I've, I didn't start, at the top, like most of these young people these days, they don't know what it's like traveling, doing jobs, and getting beaten, night after night, and then hoping you get a house show, hoping you get 2 or 3 matches a night, for TV, so you make a little bit extra money, things like that. These kids these days, they're pretty much spoiled. They may work, several times a week, but it's not like we used to do. We were not, we were not treated like that, and given a chance. So uh, you really, you don't really, you don't know jack shit about professional wrestling unless you've been in it for a long time, really, especially, like I said, anything 10, 15 years, um, yeah, anything under 10, 15 years, from this day to day, to me, it's really, it was all cakewalk. I think I really believe it, and I think because back in the day we used to get beaten, cut, bruised. You had to, and you had to keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and the wrestling schools were different. I mean, it was like. They weren't just trying to bring bodies in and more money, more money, more money. I mean, they would really test you. And if you'd come back and come back and come back and come back, then you were given, a chance and respect. So it's, believe me, it's changed. And I look at it from a business and from a wrestler's point of view, when a guy deserves to be there, and I don't care if he's 100 years old, but if he's over, he's over. Just get over it.
It's amazing. It's like you can read my thoughts, because that was going to be a question I wanted to ask you. Is like, how would you compare the wrestling business from when you first started to the way the business is today?
Well, you've tasted apples and then you've tasted oranges. So now it's a matter of which of the two you prefer. And it's like, it's apples and oranges. It's like two planets, and that there are other planets. In this very universe, there's some that you can't see. So that's pretty much the way it is. It's another planet. It's apples and oranges. It's like salt and sugar. How can I compare it? I think it's become just so disrespected, exposed. That it just amazes me, what I see out there, and it amazes me that a lot of these young people, they're not willing to learn. It's all become like, the more movies we watch, these shitty movies like that Matrix crap and all that stuff where they're flipping and flopping all over the place. The stuff that is completely unrealistic, and then you have good athletes trying to perform that. It has nothing to do with a professional wrestling. And these are the same guys that could never lock up with Harley Race or Steve Kerr or Arn Anderson or some some of the true legends. I mean, they couldn't hang with Bob Backlund for 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Especially out in the Indies, where they have all this time to practice a match, because they work like a couple of times a month, and they practice the same match, and they do the whole flip flop thing, and then the fans, they become readjusted to something like that. But then again, what gives me the breath of fresh air is when I see that when there's a good match, a good wrestling match, a solid wrestling match, and then there are a lot of fans that are like, oh my gosh, we haven't seen that in a while. That's really cool, that type of a thing. And I'm not talking about being lazy and a headlock takedown and, staying there forever. I'm talking about professional wrestling, bro. I'm not talking about flipping and flopping, something that's completely unrealistic, and it's a whole different thing. I could go. You would have to have 24 hours available for me to go on about that, and to tell you, some of the horrid things that I see out there in the scene, some of the disrespect and the horrid scenes and the way that they behave in the locker rooms, and the way that they just act the way, disrespectful, and take your chair and not shake your hand, and smoke cigarettes, pass wind, act like a bunch of idiots, and then they talk about their matches like it's this like it's the birth of their own child, and it's the fact is that a lot of the kids, they're just big marks for themselves, and that ruins the business.
Stoke answers. Stoke answers. Stoke answers. Stoke answers. Spiritual medium. Stoke answers. Stoke answers. I'm Haley. Ring rose. Stoke answers.
My name's Andrew Weatherall.
Spiritual medium. Stoke answers.